the psychology of people who always feel older than their age. Some people do not become old with time. They become old with responsibility. They are not physically older. They do not always look older. But somewhere inside, they feel like they have already lived too much. They may be 25, but their soul feels 40. They may be 18, but their nervous system feels exhausted in a way most people do not understand. Some people carry the tiredness of an adult long before they ever get the freedom of one. And sometimes it begins very early. Maybe you were the child who had to understand things before you were ready. Maybe you were the one who noticed the mood in the room. The one who could tell when something was wrong. The one who learned how to stay quiet when adults were angry. The one who helped other people emotionally, even when no one was helping you. Maybe you became mature because immaturity was not safe. Maybe you became responsible because no one else was. Maybe you became emotionally aware because you had to survive inside an environment where people's feelings could change the entire atmosphere of the house. And when a child has to become too aware too soon, something happens. They do not simply grow up fast. A part of them starts carrying weight that was never meant for them. This is often called parentification. It happens when a child has to take on adult roles emotionally, practically, or psychologically. Sometimes they become the helper. Sometimes they become the peacekeeper. Sometimes they become the listener. Sometimes they become the one who takes care of siblings, comforts a parent, avoids causing problems, or tries to make everything easier for everyone else. From the outside, people may say, "You are so mature for your age. You are so responsible. You are not like other people your age." And maybe at first it sounds like a compliment, but sometimes being mature too early is not a gift. Sometimes it is a wound that learned how to behave well. Because a child should not have to earn safety by being useful. A child should not have to earn love by being easy. A child should not have to become emotionally intelligent because the adults around them were emotionally unstable. But many people did. And now, as adults, they feel strangely out of place. They may look at people their age and feel disconnected. Other people are experimenting, making mistakes, being spontaneous, laughing loudly, living lightly. But they cannot fully relax into that. They may feel too serious, too tired, too cautious, too observant, too aware of consequences. They may not know how to be careless because carelessness was never allowed. They may not know how to be needy because needing too much once felt dangerous. They may not know how to simply enjoy life because their brain is always scanning for what could go wrong. This is why people who feel older than their age often have a complicated relationship with fun. They may want to be free. They may want to be playful. They may want to be light. But when life becomes too quiet, their body does not always feel peace. Sometimes it feels suspicious, because their nervous system learned that calm does not always last. So even in safe situations, they may still act like they are preparing for something. Preparing to be disappointed, preparing to be needed, preparing to fix something, preparing to emotionally survive. And this can make youth feel like something they missed. Not because they never had young years, but because they were never fully allowed to feel young inside those years. They may have had childhood photos, school memories, birthdays, friends, but emotionally a part of them was already working. Already managing, already understanding too much, already trying to hold things together. And that is a very lonely kind of growing up, because everyone sees the capable person, but not everyone sees the child underneath who had no choice. They see the calm one, the reliable one, the wise one, the strong one, but they do not always see the exhaustion behind that strength. They do not see how tiring it is to always be the person who understands, the person who adjusts, the person who does not ask for much, the person who quietly carries more than they say. And maybe this is why compliments about maturity can sometimes feel painful, because people praise the version of you that was created by pressure. They admire your strength without asking what made you need it. They respect your wisdom without wondering why you had to learn so early. They call you old soul. But they do not always understand that sometimes an old soul is just a young heart that had to protect itself too soon. If this sounds like you, maybe you have always felt slightly outside your own age. Maybe you connect better with older people. Maybe you find people your age too careless, too loud, or too unaware. Maybe you feel guilty when you rest. Maybe you feel uncomfortable being taken care of. Maybe you feel responsible for emotions that are not yours. Maybe you do not even notice how often you become the adult in the room. The one who calms people down. The one who thinks ahead. The one who notices the problem before anyone says it out loud. The one who carries the emotional weather of everyone around them. But here is the truth. You were not born old. You were shaped by responsibility. You were not naturally too serious. You were trained to be careful. You were not simply more mature. You were asked directly or indirectly to grow around other people's needs. And now healing may not mean becoming irresponsible. It may mean learning that you are allowed to be younger than your pain made you feel. You are allowed to need help. You are allowed to make mistakes. You are allowed to rest without proving you deserve it. You are allowed to laugh at something silly. You are allowed to not have the answer. You are allowed to be held instead of always holding everything together. Because maturity is beautiful when it grows naturally. But when it comes too early, it can become a cage. And maybe part of your healing is not becoming younger. Maybe it is finally letting the younger parts of you come back. The part that wanted to play. The part that wanted to be protected. The part that wanted someone else to say, "I've got this." You do not have to carry it alone. Because you were never meant to live your whole life in survival mode. You were never meant to confuse peace with danger. You were never meant to measure your worth by how useful, strong, or low maintenance you could be. So if you have always felt older than your age, maybe there is nothing wrong with you. Maybe your soul is not tired because it is weak. Maybe it is tired because it has been working since childhood. And maybe now, slowly, gently, you can begin to give yourself something you should have received long ago. Permission to be human. Permission to be supported. Permission to be young in the places where life forced you to grow up too fast. And maybe, for the first time, you do not have to be the oldest person in the room. Even when you are alone,